Today's podcast is brought to you by Sprizzy. Looking to skyrocket your YouTube channel's growth? Meet Sprizzy, your video's ultimate matchmaker. Their tailored ad campaigns connect your content with viewers who are already looking for videos like yours. With Sprizzy, you're not just getting views, you're gaining subscribers who are genuinely interested in what you create. Are you ready to boost your reach? Visit Sprizzy.com today and let's launch your channel to new heights. Sprizzy, the smarter way to promote your YouTube channel. Patrick Darms.
I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
We have a return guest with us who has not been on the podcast for some time because he doesn't work during the summer. Ryan Moran, welcome back.
Thank you. Although I did enjoy my hiatus away, glad to be back.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back. It's been a while.
That it has. The summer flies.
Any highlights to share with the listeners?
Oof. It was a lot of family time. I'm a family man now.
Excellent.
Put my dad cap on.
That's what we like to hear. And now we're into the holiday season. The weather's turning, sort of.
Yeah, I can't believe it just snowed recently.
The biggest blizzard of the century?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yep, that's what happened.
Yeah, they just had snow in Los Angeles for the first time.
Whoa, you're talking about the day after tomorrow?
Yeah. It's what's happening now.
Wasn't that New York?
Yeah.
Froze up to the Statue of Liberty?
Yeah, that's true. The storm surge.
Yeah.
But there was tornadoes in Los Angeles in that movie. That's my bad.
Yeah. And like a giant gorilla from Rampage.
I don't remember that part of the film, but sure.
No, that's a different one. They
sought
The Rock.
Yeah, they sought refuge in a Wendy's.
Yep.
They did do that. I gave that movie, I think, a better rating than it deserved.
Yeah, we all know.
It's entertaining.
I gave it a solid C. I don't think it's terrible.
I think C is fine for that movie. It was. I found it entertaining.
Thank you. Alrighty, so we're in the Christmas season now. This episode is part of our Christmas mini season, and we are here today to talk about Jingle All the Way.
Workaholic Howard Langston wants to make things up to his son Jamie and wife Liz. He promises to get Jamie the hottest toy of the season, Turbo Man, even though it's Christmas Eve and the toy is practically sold out. As Langston hunts down the elusive gift, he runs into mailman Sinbad, another father on the same quest. With a clock winding down, Langston's moral code is tested as he starts to learn the real meaning of Christmas. Released on November 22nd, 1996 by 1492 Pictures and Fox Family Films. Directed by Brian Levant. Screenplay by Randy Kornfield, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sinbad, Rita Wilson, Jake Lloyd, Phil Hartman, Robert Conrad, and Jim Belushi. A budget of $60 million, so $120 million adjusted for inflation. Box office at $129 million, $258 million adjusted for inflation. So, Pat, we've made a couple jokes already, but let's dive in. Why did we choose Jingle All the Way today?
Well, as a kid, as far as I was concerned, this was a Christmas movie that was very much beloved. I probably saw it every year as a kid around Christmas time. I didn't see it in theaters, so I must have seen it either on TV or, renting it on VHS in the next year, 97. And then it was a regular part of Christmas movies that my family and I would watch for a few years there. At the time of its release, Arnold Schwarzenegger was still one of the biggest movie stars in the world. 1996 was a pretty good year for him. He was in this film as well as Eraser, which was released earlier in the year. That movie did pretty well. This one, okay at the box office. We'll talk about that a little later. And then this film is interesting because it shares a kinship with another Christmas classic, Home Alone. This was co-produced by Chris Columbus, and it was made by his production company, 1492 Pictures. But the reason I thought it would be interesting to cover for the podcast is I didn't even realize this until many, many years later, but this film did terribly with the critics. And a lot of people don't like it, which I found really interesting. And I thought that made it a pretty good candidate for why wasn't it better. But Ryan, I'm going to defer to you now. Why did you want to be on this episode to talk about Jingle All the Way?
I'm definitely discovering a trend that when you talk about movies that did terribly critically or poorly critically, those are usually the movies that I'm in on, and I usually like them a lot. To your point, I feel like Jingle All the Way is a Christmas classic to me, one of my favorites, to be honest. And I think as a kid, I remember it being on TV infrequently. So it was like that rare, oh yes, Jingle All the Way's on. And you jump in and you watch it. It's just, I love it. I just think it's a very easygoing, fun Christmas movie.
Anton, do you have any history with this movie?
I watched this film a lot as a kid and always thought of it quite fondly because as a child, big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and for whatever reason was also fascinated by Sinbad. So, yeah, 90s got to me. So, a fun film as a child, and I think that it has been quite a while since I've seen this film. Like it's been a long time, but growing up, really loved this film, had it on a lot on VHS. I absolutely wanted a Turbo Man doll. So
the Sinbad part of this is worth mentioning too. He is not really a name that younger viewers would recognize at this point, but he really did have a moment in the 90s where he was very popular. This film is probably the peak of his popularity, I would say. Again, that's something else we can talk about a little bit later.
Isn't there controversy with him? Or maybe not controversy, but people like this argument about him being in Kazam.
Oh, the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Which is apparently, I thought that was a real thing too, like most people, and it's not a real film, apparently.
Well, it's not a real film of Shaq being in a film called Kazam. That was what people thought was real.
Well, that one is real, right?
Yeah, that one is real.
Okay, now I'm getting my Mandela's effect mixed up.
The Shaq movie was a real movie.
Yes.
Called Kazam.
The Sinbad one was not, but everyone thought it was, or something.
But I saw
I just switched universes.
I've seen that too.
So I think they scrubbed it. I think the Sinbad.
This is some Loch Ness Monster stuff.
It could be.
Yeah, but did you know Sinbad was actually locked up in a mental institution with Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20?
Really?
I did not know that.
Yeah. It resurfaced in the 2000s.
Is he okay now?
Oh yeah, he is recovering, I think, from a stroke. Like there was actually big in the news. So prayers up for Sinbad.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say he went to a mental institution, though, because I've read some conspiracy theories on this movie that talk about Sinbad's character actually being an escaped patient from a mental institution. And there's a few reasons why it doesn't make sense as he's an actual mailman. Like, why is he carrying his bag of mail around everywhere? Why not leave it in his van?
That's a good question. Back to Arnold real quick. I mentioned this year was a good year for him, 96. His career was kind of going like this, though, right? It was on a downward trajectory. In fact, after this film, he would not have another major box office hit until Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, not until 2003. And that was his final film before he became governor of California later that year. So kind of interesting. He's one of the biggest stars of the 90s, and yet he really only dominated the first half of the 90s.
Yeah, but look at how much he got paid for all of his movies. That's why he could coast.
He cleaned up.
Yeah.
7 months after this film came out, he's in Batman and Robin, and that was kind of terminal for his career.
I liked him there.
But he catapulted from that into governorship, so I think he's okay.
It's true.
He turned out fine.
It's a bit of a trampoline, if you will.
If you're gonna throw eggs, why not throw the bacon?
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. We're gonna cover that movie eventually at some point.
He's I like, what is he, Mr. Freeze or Dr. Freeze?
Mr. Freeze. Yeah.
I don't think he ever got his doctorate. I think it was just Mr. Freeze PhD.
Okay. Yeah. They didn't do him justice there.
Wasn't he a real medical doctor in that film?
Yeah.
Oh, so he did get his doctorate.
He built his entire suit.
Obviously, Anton, come on.
A Mr.
He didn't insist though when people were saying Mr. Freeze he's like, actually it's Doctor.
Because he wasn't stuck up, and I think that was part of his character's
appeal,
likability. Yeah.
Well, Jingle All the Way This apparently ran on USA Network for a 24-hour marathon one time, and I vaguely remember this. Would have been a big deal to like 11-year-old Pat.
Yeah, well, how long ago was that though? I don't really understand the appeal of 24-hour marathons anymore.
There's
You
no
could
appeal for it now.
you could just watch anything
Yeah.
on demand, so we're a little spoiled in that way.
Here's a question that I already know the answer to, but I'll ask it to you both anyway. Did any of us know there's a sequel to this film?
No.
No, had no idea.
I didn't discover it until I was watching this on Disney Plus, and when it ended, the sequel popped up as a recommended film. I was like, "What?
With Larry the Cable Guy, right?
You didn't know about that?"
No, I did know about that. Yeah.
Did you
Why?
watch it?
In the research. Sorry, in the research.
Oh, in the research. Okay.
Yeah, I did my. Yeah, I remember finding that.
So, what'd you think?
I think that I will never watch that.
It might catch me one day out of curiosity.
I don't think it would.
It might.
You'd have to be in a real low place to put that on.
You never know.
What are you going to do if your kids want to watch it?
I mean, I have some sway when it comes to the movies, but really, when Joey has his
One sec.
mindset, that's more or less what we're watching.
Well, you let me know. Let's talk production history of this film. This was inspired by real-life Christmas toy sellouts for such items as Cabbage Patch Kids. The film's screenplay was written by a gentleman named Randy Cornfield, which cannot be a real name.
It's a suspect name,
Cornfield with a K, just to make it a little bit more original.
like the band.
Exactly like the band.
Mm.
Producer Chris Columbus experienced a similar situation in 1995 when he attempted to obtain a Buzz Lightyear action figure from the film Toy Story released that year. As a result, he rewrote Cornfield's script, which was accepted by 20th Century Fox. Columbus was always, quote, attracted to the dark side of the happiest holiday of the year, end quote, so wrote elements of the film as a satire of the commercialization of Christmas. Brian Levant was hired to direct the film. Columbus said Levant, quote, understood the humor in the material and was very animated and excited, and he had a vision of what he wanted to do, end quote. Nice to know the director was animated and excited. Levant said, quote, the story that was important to me was between the father and son. It's a story about love and a father's journey to deliver it in the form of a Turbo Man doll. The fact that I got to design a toy line and do the commercials and make pajamas and comic books was fun for me as a filmmaker. But at its root, the movie's about something really sweet. It's about love and building a better family. I think that's consistent with everything I've done, end quote.
That's a wild take to say about that film.
Can you remember to bring that up later?
Sure.
All right. Awesome. Arnold Schwarzenegger was quickly cast, and he became available in February of 1996 after Fox's attempted remake of Planet of the Apes was held up again. Columbus also exited that project to work on Jingle All the Way. Anton, this brings it back to our very first episode of the podcast.
Wow. Life is a flat circle?
It is. Yeah, Ryan, can you just think about what a Planet of the Apes movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger would have looked like?
Amazing. Nothing short of spectacular.
Better than the one that we got with Mark Wahlberg, I can tell you that.
You're not going to like that. I have to say I like that one as well.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, I don't
did.
No.
I did.
Where does this rank with
you're trolling us, right? You did not like that film.
I thought it was good.
How?
I don't. That was honestly the first Planet of the Apes I ever saw.
Have you seen it recently?
No, not on purpose, but
okay. All right. Okay. I'm doing this now. We're gonna revisit that film, and you're gonna watch it and be on the episode.
Maybe.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
I would have taken that.
I would have loved to have seen that. Here's the plot twist for you, Ryan. It was going to be produced by Oliver Stone.
Interesting. That would have.
Back and to the left.
Somehow the ape was responsible for killing Kennedy.
It got a little funky at the end.
Yeah, you're thinking about it now, aren't you?
Monkey Lincoln is definitely.
Yep. Anyway, where were we on Jingle All the Way?
I believe we
Animated.
were talking about
yeah.
How excited he was.
Yes. Arnold was very excited to do this film because he was paid $20 million. He said he became interested in the part because he liked the idea of playing an ordinary character in a family film.
Yeah, he was obsessed with the commercialization of filmmaking.
Who isn't?
Yeah, 20 million's 20 million, especially when you have a $60 million budget.
Does that explain why the special effects are so crappy in the finale?
What? You're out of your mind.
They're bad and you know it.
The flights, it's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. Columbus initially wanted Joe Pesci to play Myron. Comedian Sinbad was chosen instead, partly because of how much he looks like Joe Pesci. Just kidding. It was mostly because of his similar height and size to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sinbad was suggested for the part by Schwarzenegger's agent, but the producers felt he was unsuited to the role of a villain, as it could harm his clean, family-oriented comedy act and reputation, although Sinbad felt the character would generate the audience's sympathy rather than hate.
Could
He
you imagine it
improvised.
with Pesci for a second? Like, just really like step back and just picture that. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I think so. He's a convincing mailman.
As a mental patient escapee / mailman.
Right, / mailman. Sinbad improvised the majority of his lines in the film, and Schwarzenegger also improvised many of his responses in his conversation with Sinbad's character.
So, filming took place in Minnesota for 5 weeks beginning in April 1996. At the time, it was the largest film production to ever take place in the state. The film was set and filmed in the Twin Cities metropolitan area of Minnesota at locations such as Bloomington's Mall of America, Mickey's Diner, downtown Minneapolis, Linden Hills, residential areas of Edina, and primarily downtown St. Paul. Unused shops in the 7th Park Studios were used for much of the filming, and the Christmas lights stayed up at Rice Park for use in the film. Although Schwarzenegger stated that the locals were, quote, well-behaved and cooperative, Levant often found filming, quote, impossible due to the scale and noise of the crowds who came to watch the production, especially in the Mall of America. The parade was filmed at Universal Studios Hollywood in California on the New York Street set. Turbo Man was created and designed for the film. This meant the commercials and scenes from the Turbo Man TV series were all shot by Levant, while all the Turbo Man merchandise, packaging, and props shown in the film were custom-made one-offs and designed to look, quote, authentic as if they all sprang from the same well, end quote. Production wrapped in August 1996, and in 1998, Murray Hill Publishing sued 20th Century Fox for $150,000, claiming that the idea for the film was stolen from a screenplay that they had purchased from high school teacher Brian Webster, entitled Could This Be Christmas? They said the script had 36 similarities with Jingle All the Way, including the plot, dialogue, and character names.
Could this be Christmas? That could be a good name for this. I like that. It's a little, it gives it a darker tone, I feel like.
Could this be Sinbad? In 2001, Fox was found guilty of stealing the idea and ordered to pay $19 million, so $15 million in damages and $4 million in legal costs to Murray Hill, with Webster to receive a portion. On appeal, the damages figures was lowered to $1.5 million. Before the verdict itself was quashed in 2004 after a judge decided the idea was not stolen, as Fox had bought Cornfield's screenplay before he or anybody else at Fox had read Could This Be Christmas?
Wait, so they sued for $150,000 and were awarded $1.5 million,
Apparently.
and then reversed?
Yeah.
Wow, they really went low on that, huh?
Yeah.
Now, Pat, you did mention that this film was not very well received. It has a 21% Rotten Tomatoes score and an IMDb rating of 5.7. But it is fair to say that this is a film that sits warmly in the hearts of many a millennial.
Snobs. Absolute snobs.
I gotta say, 21% is harsh.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be on a lot of lists for holiday film faves.
It's got to be in most people's rotation.
That's why I wanted to do it for this episode. I was like, I did not realize anyone hated this movie. I didn't, but clearly people do.
Part of why it's so good too is because it's not one of those movies that's overplayed. Like, how many times scrolling through what's on at the moment do you really see this on?
Not often. I mean, never anymore because I don't have cable. But
yeah, so like that's also part of the reason where you're just not like, oh, I just watched this yesterday. Like, you know, it's like it's a nice treat. You get a little excited.
Well, before we talk about the reasons of why Jingle All the Way wasn't better, we will take a brief break as we hear from one of our sponsors. Today's podcast is brought to you by Sprizzy. Looking to skyrocket your YouTube channel's growth? Meet Sprizzy, your video's ultimate matchmaker. Their tailored ad campaigns connect your content with viewers who are already looking for videos like yours. With Sprizzy, you're not just getting views, you're gaining subscribers who are genuinely interested in what you create. Are you ready to boost your reach? Visit Sprizzy.com today and let's launch your channel to new heights. Sprizzy, the smarter way to promote your YouTube channel.
Who's the sponsor?
Sprizzy.
What's a Sprizzy?
Sprizzy is a YouTube promotion company. I guess
What?
you haven't been listening to the podcast lately, have you?
I haven't. I'm lacking a little bit.
Why?
I'm jaded now that I'm such a regular guest. I only listen to my own stuff.
Regular guest, you don't even work in the summer.
Yeah, that's part of the perks of being a regular guest. I get that privilege.
Well, we could have used you on some of the episodes.
It's hard, man. I love doing it, but with the kids, it gets a little it gets difficult.
Don't blame your children, Ryan.
The children get all the blame. It's listen, right in the wheelhouse of like bedtime, and it gets crazy.
Okay. They're
I'll
going to listen
sponsor
to this when they grow up. We're still waiting for Omega.
Yeah,
It'll happen
Omega.
one day. All right, let's talk why wasn't it better? Number one reason, the message.
Ooh, message of this film.
Consumerism message of this film.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, what do we think? Because Columbus, let's come back to that quote from Cornfield Columbus or whatever his name is.
Christopher Cornfield.
Bingo.
Mhm.
It's about love and building a better family. It's consistent with everything I've done. I'm not too familiar with director Brian Levant's work, but I do like Cornfield's quote about being attracted to the dark side of the happiest holiday of the year. I think that's on full display here.
Mhm.
I think as a parent, and I could speak probably on behalf of majority of parents out there, Christmas is a different animal when you have kids. There's definitely a pressure to make sure that you do your best to make sure your children are happy, and it can be stressful at times where as a kid it's nice to just, you're there's pure excitement, right? In a few days, however long, you're going to wake up, something's under the tree, hopefully, you were good that year. But as an adult, it gets a little more stressful, and you don't get to really live that excitement as much as you're spending focusing on making sure that everything's taken care of for the big day. So I get it. I definitely understand it. I don't understand how he thinks the movie's about something really sweet and love and building a better family. I personally don't think Arnold redeemed himself quite all the way by pulling off what he did. So I still think there's a darkness lingering in that end game.
And of course, none of these things have anything to do with the true meaning of Christmas.
No,
Yeah, that's very true.
it's very true. But I think like even just looking at usual chemistry of holiday and Christmas films, this doesn't fit that same standard box. I feel like you could look at a lot of these scenes and just say like, wow, the holidays look horrifying. Whether it's the mall is just painted as a hellhole. And
Yeah.
affection really is bought through making sure you get the right gift.
Well, that's definitely the method that a lot of people choose, and it's to each their own. But there's not a lot of major holidays that exist anymore that aren't consumed by commercialism. I mean, I feel like
Right.
Thanksgiving is one of the few remaining, and that's really more or less about eating. I don't know who survives outside of Thanksgiving. Everything else is about gifts and candy and buying, right? What else is there?
Is Howard Langston a good dad?
I think he's a great dad.
No, he's awful.
And
Whoa,
I don't-
what?
I don't like him being painted as like an absent father in the traditional sense, right? He's working hard to provide for his family. And
Yeah, but-
that means he's losing time. And I get like a big part of being a dad is being there. But I know the real thing is there's a lot of parents that can't always balance it, but they sacrifice that time to provide for their family. I think that's huge.
The only thing that tells me that he's just a bad dad and not forced to labor for the well-being of his family is his secretary in the opening scene.
Yeah.
Making it a point to tell him multiple times that you need to go, you need to hang up, it's time to go. If she was comfortable enough to do that, I think she knows well enough that the company and his well-being will be fine if he leaves to make this major event for his son. And yet he chooses to ignore her time in and time out and ultimately misses the belt. And again, if it was a one-time deal, that's tough. That's not fun, right? And I get it. Sometimes you just can't make it work. But when Jamie goes down the list of major things that he's missed, it is a robust list.
It's all karate stuff.
Yeah, you know, they get
It's a
their
lot of
belts like
karate.
every
It's a
every
lot of
like
karate.
3 months, I think, is like the belt promotions in karate. But regardless, that's probably a list that he's talking about that's current, right? And fresh in his mind. I would venture to say that he's probably a habitual offender of missing major points in his son's life. And it goes by fast, you know? There's no
But
excuse.
but look at that house he's provided for his family with. How much do you think that Captain America painting on Anakin's bedroom wall costs?
I mean, it's just another testament to how he wins his affection, though, right? He thinks money buys him the love, and it doesn't.
But
Well,
doesn't it?
It doesn't. It doesn't. Not long term. No.
not long.
No. At the end
No,
of the
you're right,
day,
No,
Ryan.
no.
It doesn't.
I mean, in the movie.
Yeah. I
He
think.
does because he
Well,
wants
yeah.
the kid wants it. He's like, I just want a Turbo Man.
When you're a kid, that's well. Why does he want Turbo Man so bad? Let's take a deep dive. Because he wants a father figure in his life, and that's Turbo Man. Boom.
What if his dad gave him a choice? What if Howard was like, you can either have the Turbo Man or you can have me around for all of your belt promotions forever?
But didn't that essentially happen at the end when Jamie gave up the Turbo Man doll to spend time with his dad?
Yes,
He
probably
he
infuriating his father. After all he went through to get that Turbo Man and Jamie just gives it away. What an ungrateful little shit.
Is that I don't know if that's how I would see it there. I think
That's how I see it.
ultimately Jamie cares more about spending time with his dad than the material Turbo Man doll that's limited edition, probably worth a fortune based on everything.
If he foolishly gave it away
That was
to
stupid.
someone that was going to prison.
But it just proves the point, right? That he valued time with his dad over the doll.
Are we even supposed to be rooting for Howard?
Because he's Arnold for sure, but as a character, no.
I think we are, but the universe is throwing so many hurdles at him to really hold him back on his journey.
I think he's a good dad who's just bad at time management.
He's a
Yeah.
liar too. He just can't be honest about anything.
No, he can't communicate with his kid to clearly tell him, like, look, the reason I'm not around is because I'm out making money to provide for you and your mom.
I
Because
mean,
your mom chose not to work.
you saw that office, you saw the company. They're probably a pretty lucrative company. I
Yeah.
think he's doing more than fine. I think he could spend some time away to spend it with his kid. And you see it with the conversations he's having with his clients, right? This is what he does. He's a liar. It's not something that's just for his family. He's a liar in general. That's his MO.
So you would say this film is a cautionary tale of sorts.
It should be a source of warning for a lot of people. Pay attention to what your priorities are. Find a balance that makes sense.
Now that you have a family of your own, Ryan, do you watch this film differently now?
Oh, for sure. Yep. I mean, first of all, like I said, I see the side of the holidays that's just commercialized and it's tough and, you know, feel the pressure, but I also feel the excitement. I mean, I think that's something that's missing from Howard's realm that I have is like, it's not necessarily like just the pressure of getting the things that your kids want, but it's like the excitement. Like you remember being a kid and Christmas Day coming or any holiday for that matter and having presents under the tree or opening that one gift that you were looking forward to and how great you felt as a kid. The feeling you have as a parent that provides that is like it's like a dopamine hit. You can't match that for anything. So I work hard so I could provide for my family. I work hard so I can give my children the things that I think they deserve, right? And I think that's where he as a character loses focus. What is he working hard for? Because it's clearly not endgame to make his family happy because he loses sight of that.
I agree with you. He's working for himself at that
Yeah.
point.
Mm-hmm.
We've all
Yeah.
been there when you're working for yourself and you get caught up in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like I said with the time management thing, he wasn't prioritizing what he should have been.
No, not even a little bit. And he has a great he should give his secretary a raise. I mean, she was trying to knock some sense into him a few times. She gave him every opportunity to make it to that karate belt promotion.
She did. Why they were having the karate belt promotion on December 23rd, that's a different story. Ryan
Yeah.
Cracknell of Movie View writes, quote, after Howard presents Jamie with a Turbo Man figure, the young boy gives it away, stating that he no longer wants it because he has the real thing at home. The implication here is not that Jamie has grown fonder of his father, not because he kept his promise finally, but rather that his dad is a toy. Dressed as Turbo Man, Howard has become an action hero. The only problem is that Jamie doesn't show any indication that he understands the difference between reality and fantasy, end quote.
I mean, these are the Rotten Tomato guys, right? Like, what is wrong with you?
I think that's
Well-
enough said there. Yeah.
That's why I don't put any faith in the Rotten Tomato scores.
As I've been doing this podcast and we've done over 100 episodes by now, I actually have grown to respect it a little bit more. But occasionally it's just so far off the mark. Like, I mean, I won't spoil my rating, but 21% is just amazingly harsh for this. This movie's way. I know it's a weighted average, yada yada yada, but this movie's far better than that. Like 21% is like disaster level bad for a movie.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And this movie is not a disaster at all. Well, if we're reading that quote, we should talk about Jake Lloyd, because it's impossible to watch this film without thinking about young Anakin in
Young
Phantom
Anakin.
Menace. I guess this is the movie George Lucas saw and was like, yeah, that's him. That's the guy I want to play Anakin. Future
That's
Darth
the chosen
Vader.
one.
I mean, think about the similarities, right? He's a child with parental issues, absentee father.
A slave.
Well, there's that.
Oh, wait, no. Sorry. That's
It's a slave to commercialism.
Right. Yeah, what do we think of Mrs. Tom Hanks in this film?
She's a very pretty lady.
Interesting wife, interesting mom. Clearly enjoys the fineries of Howard's job and is willing to look past a lot of his faults as a father for that reason.
Because he's making the money.
Yeah, you could tell she kind of lets a lot of, like, she's not afraid to give him the business to an extent, but she's not going anywhere because of it.
How do we feel about Howard's wife just hopping in the shower while her neighbor's in the house, and he's like, "I'll watch the kids, don't worry."
How does she not see how creepy he is?
It's so weird.
I'm not sure about that, because if you remember at the karate belt, whatever the hell that thing's called, pep rally thing they're doing,
Promotion.
it's implied that she's noticing how creepy he is with the other wives, where he's just like, "I've got the perfect tool for you." She seems to be reacting to it like she doesn't like him. And then I don't know. It's weird.
But he's a helpful neighbor.
It was a bath too, by the way, which is worse.
No, I
somehow.
thought it was a shower.
He told her to go take a hot bath, I thought.
No, a shower.
Are you sure?
Yes.
With essential oils?
No, remember because when Howard calls, he's like, "I think she's in the shower. Do you want me to go check?"
I
No.
do, yeah. Yeah. Now I got to rewatch. I think he told her to go take a bath.
No, he said shower.
All right.
It was a shower.
Right as he's creepily taking the apron off of her, like real close.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, the personal space type of situation there. Just not really respectful of it.
Oh.
I start to wonder if he's not a good guy after all.
Phil Hartman?
Yeah.
Well, that can bring us into the next reason, which is the tone. It's a zany movie. I will give it a lot of credit, though, because it's pretty original.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really seen anything quite like it.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
And I think it deserves a lot of credit for that. Do we think it works as a comedy?
For sure. I don't think it's a traditional comedy by any sense. I mean, it's just overall kind of a ridiculous, funny movie.
It hits on a lot of comedic beats that were probably a lot more popular in the 90s. A lot of physical humor. Some jokes that you can't really make nowadays.
Right.
You feel like there was like an edgy flair to it?
Slightly. I'm thinking a lot of like the Santa fight.
Odd scene. I don't even understand why that was part of it.
It's my favorite part of the movie.
It is so strange. It just, I don't know where it really fits
like
in.
it. That's why I like it, though. It's so out of left field.
It's very out there. And what was it? Vern Troyer is just climbing on top of his head, and then the Big Show just punches him off.
Yeah, and then you've got like Terminator times 10, Kaioken, Santa.
Yeah.
That just shows up, and that whole, what is that?
The candy
what is
cane
it?
nunchucks.
Is it a
Yep.
sweatshop? What ultimately is that place?
It's
Why
just
are there so many?
I just
Santas
thought it was
there?
like a black market underground counterfeit toy operation that they were doing.
Why are they all there? Shouldn't they be out peddling this garbage off though? Like, what are they doing there?
They're all on break from their mall Santa
It's
jobs.
a safe house.
I don't know. I would think it should be less populated at this time.
It seemed like a live action short that would be in a Family Guy episode.
Yeah. I feel like
I thought it was hilarious. That's my favorite
Yeah.
part of the movie.
sneakily one of my favorite lines that I thought was so funny is when the boy Phil Hartman's kid is talking about his dad, and he wasn't always like this until he divorced my mom.
God.
Like, wow, there's just like so many like little quirky lines like that are just like, I don't know, it's just funny. Like as an adult you get it, as a kid that meant nothing. Like absolutely nothing.
My favorite under the radar bit is when Arnold's about to go into the radio studio,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
remember all the callers are calling in trying to name the reindeer, and the one caller's like, Tito, Randy, Jermaine.
Yeah, I mean, trolls existed long before the internet, right? That had to be a troll.
I think they were playing it seriously, which is even funnier.
That's so, yeah. Who knows? Who's to say what the script called for there?
Well, the script is all over the place, and you can tell there was a lot of improv. The film is impossible to take seriously, but that's okay because Arnold is always in on the joke. You know, he's such a ridiculous person in a good way. I mean, that seeing him in normal situations is always entertaining to watch because he's
Mhm.
such an abnormal individual. Like as jacked as he is, like him as like a mattress salesman is just hilarious.
Yeah, he doesn't fit even though you take him out of the movie, he is a normal person. He just doesn't fit that MO in any stretch of the imagination. So it's funny him playing that type of character or attempting it at the very least.
It's great too because he's a better actor than he gets credit for because he's the only kind of action star like this who could pull this off. I don't see Stallone being able to pull this off. And I like Stallone, but he can't do funny like Arnold could do funny, at least not for me. Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson, they've tried this type of role before and they failed. They can't do this kind of role.
Yeah, Vin Diesel, of course, did the Pacifier series.
Yeah,
Where he was like a
not a good
babysitter.
movie. Yeah, not
No
good.
one's a fan of that.
Have you seen Stallone's like new series, Tulsa
No.
King?
No.
The Tulsa King.
It's honestly, I would recommend you watch it. It's pretty solid, and he's got funny moments in that. But yeah, do I see him in this role? No. For a
It's-
pigeonholed character like Schwarzenegger is, like, yeah, I think he pulls this off. Like a
Yeah.
lot of them couldn't.
I think out of place character in an environment that you would not expect, like someone of their build, almost like a fish out of water, but Christmas film is how I think of how this film is cut up a bit. I think it's just hilarious, right? To see the size of Arnold, but having to use his the physicality in his size to get his way, like in the toy store when he just forces people to smile because he wants their Christmas spirit.
Where's your Christmas spirit? Did you recognize the cameo from one of those guys?
Yes, it was oh my gosh.
Chris Parnell.
Yeah, Chris Parnell in a very early Chris Parnell role.
Yeah, young Chris Parnell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like, could you tell me where I can find the Turbo Man?
Oh yeah, the little weasel laugh.
And
Yeah.
they just laugh.
They're like, you know who they reminded me of?
That's the exact laugh though.
Yeah. You know who it reminded me of? The Who's from The Grinch.
Oh, that scene. Yeah, I could see that.
Another fantastic Christmas film.
Yeah, it was okay.
Also in the rotation.
I mean, look, I had a lot of fun watching this film with my wife's family. My wife's sister is here with our nieces and our nephew, and they're all little kids. They had a blast watching this movie.
Mhm.
It was
Not
great.
surprised.
Is it a lot of the physical comedy that's going on?
Oh yeah.
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 That makes sense.
This
Yeah.
is a good film that I think holds up in that regard, where if someone hasn't seen it, it's not like a film where I would be like, you should watch this, but, and then he explains some of the reasons why it was better back then. Like I would just comfortably tell someone who hasn't seen it to watch it.
Like a lot of people aren't always going to get the smart British humor, but everyone's going to see the appeal to fat guy, little coat. So
That's it. That's 100%.
I wouldn't recommend this to anyone if they were like, oh, like I want to see like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Should I watch Jingle All the Way? Like this would never be my first or second or even third recommendation.
But if they ask for a Christmas film,
Well, this is the only Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas film.
but if
isn't it?
just in general a Christmas film, does this hit your list?
Yeah, it depends on what you want.
Family Christmas.
Muppet Christmas Story probably comes first.
Never saw it.
You never saw Muppet Christmas Carol?
It's
What?
really good. It
I
is
wasn't,
really,
I
really
wasn't
good.
a big Muppet guy either.
You have kids now, Ryan. You should watch
Your-
it. It's great.
Your kids,
have
your
you
kids are
s-
gonna love it.
Have you seen Sesame Street lately? No, thank you.
But this is old, I think.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm just saying we're not like a huge Muppet household.
Okay. Well, if you're
But we
going to
do
show
like
them
Elmo.
anything Muppet related, those old ones are great.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look for the children.
I'm sort of on the fence about Arnold in this movie because in some scenes I think he's really funny, and in other ones he looks kind of bored, and I don't think he's that funny in this film.
I think chemistry is really important for Arnold, and I don't think his chemistry with Sinbad was particularly great.
Yeah, the Sinbad character as a whole, like I didn't love him for that.
Do we think he's funny?
No.
I liked him a lot more when I was younger. I did not enjoy him quite as much during the rewatch.
This was my only exposure to Sinbad. Also, I don't know if I missed the Sinbad train, but this was it for me. I did not love him in the role. I just don't think he's funny. I felt like it you could feel him trying to be in a lot of his lines and scenes, and it just didn't really hit for me.
He's really pushing for it. You know what it reminded me of later on in the 2000s? It reminded me of Dane Cook.
Kind of pushing his
pushing
comedic style.
really, really hard.
Yeah,
I think there was a bit of overacting. The one scene that I think really sticks out to me is when he's holding the police hostage with the bomb present.
Yeah.
I felt like a bit more subtlety would have just had the comedic timing feel more natural.
Not
Yeah.
only
He just-
that scene would never be in a movie now.
Like I said, some comedy would definitely not.
Yeah, it's just there's no way they're putting that in a movie after 9/11. It's just
I mean,
not.
what are the chances that it was a bomb? Just thank God all the police officers actually survived that.
You know what would have been funnier if you had never seen what happened to the police officers.
That would be dark.
It would be darker.
It'd be extremely dark. Well, that scene is a pivotal point in the argument that Sinbad is an escapee from a mental institution, and people argue that he was well aware of which package actually held a bomb and which one did not, and that it was not unintentional that actually was set off.
It's very possible.
I like to research the dark sides of these movies just to have an interesting take. That's my contribution, is to find the conspiracy theories behind these movies. And Sinbad is dead center for this one.
I did not know there were conspiracy theories about this movie.
I mean, every movie is going to have a bit of a touch of it. It's just the world we live in, and that's Sinbad for this. There's a lot of his character. I mean, what is he doing all day? What happens to those packages that need to be delivered if he's a real mailman?
But then why was one of them a bomb?
Because
I don't think he. But he didn't.
He didn't keep it though.
Right.
You can't take any of it seriously.
It should have been anthrax. If it was anthrax, it would have been more believable.
Way more topical, for sure. I think him and Arnold have great chemistry in some scenes, but in others, their relationship goes up and down. And I can't figure out, are they working against each other or with each other? And it keeps going back and forth. And I don't know. I don't think he's that funny. I'm with both of you on this.
I wonder how much of the scenes are the they're just kind of going with the flow and making up their own lines. If that's the scenes where they're more natural or less natural, as opposed to what's scripted.
It's not even Sinbad's best performance. I mean, if you're looking at 90s films for Sinbad that were a bit more memorable, go watch Good Burger, go watch First Kid. First Kid was also a lot on Disney, on the Disney Channel.
Shazam.
Who could forget?
Wait, was he in Good Burger? Why don't I remember him in Good Burger?
He's not a huge role in that, right?
He doesn't have a big role, but you still see it and it's like, oh snap. Sinbad.
He always struck me as someone who is way better in like a cameo than he is in a major role like this.
Yeah, I agreed.
Kind of like Rob Schneider.
The Animal. Did you not like The Animal?
Not a fan.
Rob Schneider is a carrot.
Deuce Bigalow.
I like Deuce Bigalow a lot.
It has its moments. What about the sequel, European Gigolo?
I also thought it was pretty good. Not great, not nearly as good as the original, but I thought it was pretty good.
Benchwarmers.
Didn't necessarily like that at all.
I like his cameos.
Yeah.
Like Chuck and Larry in Longest Yard.
There's
Stuff like
Chuck and Larry is really funny.
It is
Longest
a
Yard
circle.
is
Like not even
Not a
even
square
as
or a rectangle, which have edges, but a circle.
I really like when he trades with Adam Sandler as the village person holding like a pitchfork. You can do it.
You can do it.
Yeah.
They're definitely a good team.
That's how I think Sinbad should be used, not like this.
I pretty much anyone I felt like could have filled that role and would have been acceptable.
And this was kind of it for his movie career. Like, he's been in stuff since this, but this was the last time Hollywood really gave him a chance at a major role.
I guess his team was right to be hesitant, huh?
I think so. I have in the notes here, it's an incredibly, impossibly stupid movie, but everyone is fully committed to it. Do you want to talk about Phil Hartman?
Rip. Love that guy.
One of the all-time greats.
Is he gone?
You don't know what happened to him?
Pretty famously.
Wait, Ryan, are you kidding, or you don't know?
No, I don't know.
Man, okay, yeah.
It's sad stuff.
His wife shot and killed him?
Yep. While
At
he was
49?
sleeping.
Wow, what a bitch way to do it.
Yeah, she had drug issues. There's a lot of speculation on what caused her to relapse and be in a mental state to do something like that.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Super, super sad.
Because he really was one of the all-time greats.
He has a good natural funniness. Like his vibe, his delivery is fantastic.
Did either of you ever see the SNL bit where he is Sinatra hosting a talk show?
Oh yeah, classic.
I'll send that to you, Ryan.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Even small parts, he plays dad roles really, really well. Like any SNL skit where he's a dad, he's just hilarious. Like it was the Chris Farley, like I live in a van down by the river, and he plays the dad in that.
Yeah,
And it's just so funny.
This is one of his best performances. It's got to be. All the little stuff he's saying to all the other wives and Arnold's wife, all the stuff he's saying to Arnold. You can't bench press your way out of this one.
Yeah, his one-liners are like endless in this one.
I might have misread that one.
Yeah, just perfect timing. He is exactly he knew the assignment and he played it perfectly.
He did. These cookies.
Put that cookie down.
You got to say the now. You got to hit it with the now.
Who told you could eat my cookies?
Those two lines are like, anytime I think of this movie, those two lines are the first thing that fly into my head, like that, just back to back.
I think of it's not a tumor.
The madman's got two.
He's got two.
I wrote down, anytime I see Jim Belushi in a movie, it just makes me wish John Belushi was still alive and we never had to see Jim Belushi.
Yeah, Jim Belushi is not quite as talented as John.
Not even
But
close.
he still got a sitcom series.
Does he?
Yeah, he did. It was a 3-season, 4-season show.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan, any Jim Belushi thoughts?
I think he's all right.
Have you ever seen John Belushi?
Yeah.
He was better.
I mean, come on, that's not fair necessarily.
It's fair.
He's his own man.
I'm sure he is. Any thoughts? Because I think we could start to wrap this up. I've run out of notes.
I think that this film doesn't have a ton of substance.
There's not a lot to talk about.
I don't think it's designed to be full of substance.
It's not.
I think the general message is pretty clear, right? It's about how important things and stuff and toys are to kids, and just the story of a kind of deadbeat dad in regards to at least putting his kids' emotional needs first, how he's dealing with that last minute surge of getting a toy. And thank goodness we don't live in that world anymore. Everything's overproduced and overly available.
Amazon has rendered this movie obsolete.
Absolutely. It's crushed the possibility of this movie. Now we just have to scramble for toilet paper.
I would say that it's reared its ugly head in the form of collectibles and variant collectibles.
100%. Yeah, it's not far-fetched, which I think is part of the draw as well for that time period. Like, it's just very realistic.
Yeah, this was the time period of like Tamagotchi, Furby, Tickle Me Elmo, all that stuff.
You know how hard it is to get your hands on an original Furby, by the way?
I probably hard.
Ridiculously.
Oh, like a boxed one, you mean?
Just even a used one. Difficult and expensive.
I'm pretty sure my wife still has all of her original Furbies.
Have you checked on the electronic bay?
The what?
If you go to eBay, you can see.
God damn it, eBay.
Yeah.
Is that what eBay's? Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. What are you thinking, man?
Oh, I just think it's eBay.
Oh, it's like, what do you think email stands for?
It's just email.
Well, look, Ryan, I don't know what kind of lies you've been told, but I can find one right now for $50
for a Furby.
Yeah.
In working order?
That's still very expensive for a Furby.
Says it's in the box.
I'll tell you right now, last year, maybe, okay, all right, so maybe I fell victim to Turbo Man. Last year, there was a surge for Furbies. There was the new one that came out, and everyone was scrambling to get their hands on the originals because no one wanted the new ones because they were like neon, and they didn't do the cool stuff.
Oh, yeah, these new ones look awful.
Yeah, they're terrible. So everyone was trying to get their hands on the originals, and they were expensive and hard to come by. So, you know what? I take back my prior statement. It still exists.
No, you weren't wrong at the time.
Turbo Man exists in today's day and age, but for old stuff that's not.
Would you like a Furby now? Is that what you're asking for?
No, we got him one of the weird ones, and he used it for a week or two and doesn't ever. I don't even know where it is.
Do you want to buy him an original?
Nope, because it's going to do the same thing, except it's going to talk sometimes, and I don't want that.
Well, it's only $50.
Well, no, thank you.
Okay.
An original 1996 Turbo Man goes for around $100 to $150.
They made that as a real toy?
Yes, from 1996.
I mean, is that surprising to you?
No, not at all. No.
I wonder what Arnold's take is on each Turbo Man sold.
5%.
You think? I
not on
could see it
I
being
don't know.
higher.
not on the resales. The resales probably nothing goes to him.
It's
Correct,
true.
but on the original sale of Turbo Man, what do you think his take was? He had to have a pretty good premium.
He made $20 million salary from this. He probably got a cut of the box office, but this movie didn't make that much at the box office. He probably got he was probably in on the merchandising.
Can I ask you a question unrelated to the movie per se, but just the adjustments for inflation based on what you've been seeing? Is that number, how's that looking? Is it going up? Is it going down? Because I'm noticing a 2x multiplier on this bad boy.
I just it's very simple. I take the film's year of release, I put in the budget and the box office, and I do the calculator for like what does that equal in today's money. So yeah, from something from the 90s, it's about 2x.
Okay, so that's pretty consistent because I know inflation's
yeah,
obviously always constantly moving.
Yeah. But it's really interesting if you look at it over the years. So in the 80s, it was like 4 times.
Okay.
And if you want to go back to the 60s and 70s, it's like 10 times. So a movie making 100. Remember we talked about this on the Thunderball episode?
Yeah.
That movie made like 140 million in 1965. That's like $1.5 billion today. It's an incredible amount of money.
I think it's super interesting to me, but that might be a nerdy take.
No, I don't think it's nerdy. I think it's a really important point to discuss when you're talking about older films. You're like, oh, like it was only $60 million. It's like that was an expensive movie back then.
I think that's a much fairer way to assess its actual success in the box office and in general.
The other thing to consider too is this is harder to bake into the box office, but the cost of a movie ticket now is proportionally more than it was then. Like Jurassic Park making $1 billion in 1993.
It's crazy.
It's like $2 billion now, but it's really like more because it was just so much cheaper to see a movie then.
Yeah, if you're talking
Like what,
inflation
$6-7
at a 2x multiplier, it's not like movie tickets are only 2x what they were back in 1996.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you go to boxofficemojo.com and you're looking up highest grossing films of all time, you can also filter it by ticket sales.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets really interesting.
That is interesting.
Well, that's all I have for Jingle All the Way.
What about the special effects?
I thought they were terrible, but
Did you think overall all of them were terrible or specifically? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I thought the flight scenes were not great.
Eh.
The jetpack was definitely rough, but I thought the rest was cool.
I
don't know. It's 60. Listen, I don't think 60 million is a massive budget. I don't think it's a film that deserves a massive budget. But when you have a $60 million budget and 20 of the 60s going to the main actor for what they had,
it's really a $40 million movie.
And I mean, they had to pay the other main characters, right? What did Sinbad take? I wonder. So for what they had to put into the actual like set and special effects, I feel like they did a good job.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not going to hold it against the movie per se.
Yeah.
It's still terrible.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
You liked the special effects?
I did. Except for honestly, it was the only point where I was like, "Oh man, this is rough." Was the flight scene?
Well, I think we can wrap this up. We talked about the message. We talked about the tone. This has been a very jumbled recording for sure. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing. As the guest, would you like to go first and render your verdict?
I'm going to take the last spot here because I'm sure the listeners are unsure where I stand on this based on what I've said so far. So I'd like to stretch the suspense just a bit further.
I would imagine the listeners are very confused at this point.
Absolutely.
I'll go first, Anton, if you don't mind. Everyone involved in this movie knows exactly how stupid it is, but they commit to it 100%, and I think that works well for the movie. I'm a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and I don't love this movie. I thought it was fun to revisit. I would recommend it as a Christmas movie. I don't think it's some underappreciated masterpiece from the 90s that like never really found its footing, because I think it is properly appreciated. It has a lot of fans. It's not one of my favorite Arnold performances. Yeah, this isn't high on the list of Arnold films for me, but I do enjoy it. I'm very neutral about this film because I don't have a tremendous amount of love for it, but at the same time, there's nothing in it that I absolutely hate either. And I mentioned this before when I was watching this with the family. We had a blast, and I have to give it a lot of credit for that. It's probably not a movie that I would ever watch on my own, but the whole point of a Christmas movie is that it's awesome to watch with your family. And I think I have to give it a lot of credit for that. So I'm going to give this movie a C.
Nice.
I think it's okay. It's like I said, there's nothing in it that I love, but there's nothing in it that I hate. So I'm on C.
Okay.
You hit on all of the same points that I feel the same way about with this film. I think one additional thing is it's a very unique film story-wise. You mentioned that earlier in the podcast, and I feel like just because of that uniqueness, showing younger generations this film now just kind of adds to just the fun of this film, because I'm sure even then this felt really unique. And so while it's not a perfect film by any means, and while the rewatch did have me cringing a little bit at certain things, I think it does its job. I think that there are other films that will still sit very firmly as classic Christmas films for me. I think this one loses a little bit, but I think it's, like you said, meant to be really seen with the bigger group to really appreciate it for its nostalgic fun. So this one is a C plus. I give it a bit of merit for the originality.
Okay, fair. So for me, like I said, this is a rotation piece for me. If I see it on out in the wild, I'm gonna watch it. Is it like one of those Christmas movies that I'm gonna see multiple times in the season? Probably not. It's more of a one and done each holiday season. But that being said, it's definitely one that I make a point to watch around Christmas time. I think it's funny. I don't hate any piece of it. I don't think any piece of it is bad. Neutral about a couple of characters. It is what it is for certain scenes, but I think it's a good movie. It always brings a smile to my face. It makes me laugh. To this date, I quote lines from this movie, which is in my mind a parameter for how I grade movies. If they have the one-liners that I continue to go back to. So, shocker here. I like it. I would give this a solid A minus.
It's a lot of love for this film.
Yeah, eventually I'll have you guys. I'll allow. I'll accept the invitation to the movie that I really, really dislike, and I'll come on.
I've offered them to you before.
I know.
You just
It's the premise of watching it again that just makes it so hard for me to want to do it. But
you
I
have
get
to
that's
look at
the
the
point.
end goal, though. Dunking on the movie is fun.
I
It is really
understand the
fun.
point. Yeah. I'll get there. I'll get there.
Okay, all right.
I mean, there was things to trash in the other couple movies. I have less to trash in this one.
We were pretty hard on Ants.
Ants was Ants.
Well, that was different for you though,
Ants was
because you
tough.
thought you were gonna like it.
It caught me by surprise. Yeah,
Ants was tough.
I still have the action figure right in front of me, actually, that you sent me.
Did you unbox it?
Yeah, of course.
Does
I
your
don't
son
think it's
actually play with it?
Yes, part of like our thing is he'll come in the office. There's a couple of I've got a baby Yoda or Grogu for all you Star Wars fans, or is it Grogu? Did I just say it wrong?
Depends
I've
on where
got
you live.
I've
I
got
just
an
I just call him Baby
Alakazam.
Yoda.
I've got
What was
Chase.
that? What was the second one?
Alakazam.
Alakazam,
Okay.
the Pokemon.
I've got a Paw Patrol Chase that Joey painted, and I've got the Ants General. Hi.
That's actually Colonel Cutter, but
Okay. Well, yeah.
no,
Whatever.
wait, Colonel. The hell's his name?
It's Cutter. Yeah, Cutter.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's General Mandible. Oh, silly
Yeah,
me,
General
not remembering
Mandible.
that.
Colonel Cutter. But they're all kind of hanging out. So Joey will run in and ask me to hand him each of them, and he runs around with them. So yes, he does play with it to that sense, but it's
Nice.
mostly a showpiece now.
Love it.
But we were rough on Ants. To your point,
It deserved it.
it was a little bit of a
It's
letdown.
not very good. You need to see the James Bond movie where he's the villain.
Okay,
It's
so
incredible.
good. It's so good.
I will.
He has bleach blonde hair.
Okay,
Am I selling you on this?
no,
Okay.
I'll
It's
watch
in-
it because you
it
tell me to
starts-
watch.
Oh
it.
my
starts in
god,
Fran-
dude!
It's actually no, sorry. It starts in the Arctic and then it goes into France and then it goes to San Francisco.
I just can you imagine? Like he has never made an attempt to play something other than just talking. And where is his accent even from?
New York.
No, sorry, nope.
He's from
Nope.
New York.
I believe that he's from New York, but who from New York talks like that? No one.
No.
It's not something that anyone from New York has naturally.
It's an Ithaca dialect.
That must be it. He was the only resident of Ithaca, New York.
You amuse me, Mr. Bond.
It's just odd. Like
I'm happiest in the saddle.
Can you imagine though? Like just some kind of different accent out of him.
He is a legendary actor, though.
He is, but he's never played anything other
No.
than him,
No.
which
Yeah,
works.
you need to see the Bond movie. It's called A View to a Kill.
Okay.
Duran Duran does the title song.
So on wrap, I'd like to read the wrap up paragraph, please.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, before you read that wrap up, Ryan, always a pleasure having you on. Thank you again.
It's always
thank
fun.
you, Ryan.
Nothing short of enjoyable to the fullest extent. I love being on here. I love talking with you, fine gentlemen, and discussing some good films. So thank you again for having me.
It's our pleasure. We need to have you on again soon. It sounds like we can get you interested in a Harry Potter movie.
I could talk about Harry Potter. You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. And that's it for Jingle All the Way. Next week is going to be actually an episode that we are releasing on Christmas itself. It's going to be the Polar Express, the 20th anniversary.
Predictions on snow on Christmas this year. Do we get it, yay or nay?
I live in the South, so the chances are slim.
Okay. White Christmas for you is a no. Anton?
I'm in the Bay Area. It definitely does not snow here. It's a no.
Okay. All right. Well, it makes sense that you guys are so critical on Christmas films when you just suck the life out of Christmas. For me, I'm gonna make a bold prediction of a yay. White Christmas this year for
Okay.
the Jersey folks listening.
You feel that we were harsh on Jingle All the Way?
C's kind of harsh. I feel like it's a feel good film.
I enjoyed watching it. It was fine.
Listen, I give you your rating. I think you're entitled to it, but do I think it's better than a C? Probably. Obviously, with my rating.
Clearly,
Yeah,
you
it's a
did.
very-
She gave it an A-.
What else gets an A minus? And I always have to kind of think.
I think I gave The Grinch an A minus, if I recall,
You did.
and I didn't give it an A because I felt pressured for how low you two went.
You should never feel pressure from us.
Yeah, don't feel pressure.
Well, it's a revision because that's an A.
Okay. Well, I'm sure our listeners will remember that.
Go back and watch The Grinch if you haven't.
Look, the highest rating that I've given a Christmas film so far is Eyes Wide Shut, and you haven't even seen that movie. So where's your holiday spirit?
Well, we clearly differ in Christmas spirit tastes, so that could be why.
Well, it's on Disney Plus, so when you get a chance, definitely check out Muppet
Isn't it the
Christmas
one
Carol.
that you said is a horror?
Say Eyes Wide Shut. I was like, that's on Disney Plus. Holy crap! Oh my gosh!
Muppet Christmas Carol.
It was like
Very
the horror-
different film.
No, Anton, 100%. That's going to be on the roster this year with Joey. Always
That's an
looking to find him
A.
something
That's A
new.
territory
That's
for me.
that's
That's a
an
great
A for
film.
me.
Yeah.
That's an A for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's crazy, but sure.
Well, all right then.
Fraggle Rock Christmas.
Ryan, you said you wanted to read something.
Yeah, so I just wanted to a quick note for the listeners. If you guys are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give everyone here a follow and a 5-star review. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube channel as well. And as always, if you are looking for Why Wasn't It Better on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, they are there. So make sure you are following, liking, viewing, get involved. Leave some comments. Tell us what you think about these podcasts. We want to see some more involvement. For those who would like to support us directly, there is a Patreon, and the link will be in all of those platforms. Links are in the description. So thank you, everyone, for listening, and we're going to see you next time.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
You could re-record that. I was just
No, I'm going to leave that. That was
stays.
lovely. Thank you very much, Ryan, for reading that.
Thank
for
you,
us.
Ryan.
So what are we doing now? You guys want to play video games? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
We will see everyone next week on Why Wasn't It Better? It's the Polar Express. Merry Christmas.